I had barely shut the car door when I saw it. You know how sometimes your mind just blanks out for a second? That's exactly what happened. I'd just come back from 4 days in Seattle. Design expo, client dinners, too much hotel coffee. My head still buzzing with work stuff and the memory of this rare piece of teak I'd scored, thinking about how perfect it'd look on my next big project. I even had this dumb grin on my face, picturing the deck I'd build, until I turned my head and everything dropped out from under me. My patio, my own backyard sanctuary, the one I built with my own hands, was split clean in half. I'm talking sliced like a birthday cake at a kid's party, not some random damage, but surgical, deliberate, right down the middle. The teak boards, the benches, even the footings for the pergola. Half of it still standing like some busted ribcage, the other half collapsed into the grass, just ruined. And, as if that wasn't enough, sprayed across the boards in bright red letters. This patio crossed my line. I have the right. Karen Willow. I swear I just stood there for a whole minute, blinking like a cartoon character, rubbing my eyes, hoping I'd just imagined it. Nope. Every board was cut, bolts snapped or taken out. Part of the pergola tipped over and dumped like trash. Karen Willow, my neighbor, president of the HOA, self-appointed dictator of suburban decency, part-time busybody, full-time pain in my ass. I'd had plenty of run-ins with her, notes about my shop lights, snarky remarks about my rustic look, but this was war. I snapped right into action, grabbed my phone, started taking photos like I was documenting a crime scene, which, well, I guess I was. Wide shots, close-ups, every bolt, every line of graffiti. I kept an inventory in my head. These were teak boards I'd hunted down from a decommissioned yacht, benches with joinery I'd labored over for months, marine varnish ceiling every inch, all designed and built by me. It wasn't just a deck. It was my art, my retreat. And she'd butchered it. I didn't hesitate, dialed the cops, reported criminal property damage, gave them my address and waited. While I was on hold, I noticed fresh sawdust in the grass. Not old, not from a storm. This was new. Someone had done this in the last day, maybe two. The cuts were too sharp to be anything else. By the time Officer Green arrived, I'd already sent myself every photo, started a digital folder. He walked up, took one look and muttered, "Jesus." "Yeah," I said. "Came home from work and found this." He walked the perimeter, squatted next to the sawed beam. "Someone knew what they were doing," he said, tracing the edge. "Professional." I pointed at the red spray paint. She left a signature. He took notes, photos, asked for my statement. Said he'd file a report, refer it for follow-up. Cop talk for don't hold your breath. He asked about cameras. I had an old system, maybe a backup. "Check it," he said. "Anything helps." I promised I would. As he left, I stood on the skeleton of my deck and stared across at Karen's place. Lights off, curtains drawn. Typical. I walked over and rang her bell. Nothing. Knocked again. Still nothing. Then I heard her through an upstairs window. "If you want to talk, do it through your lawyer, Ryan." My jaw clenched. "Did you cut up my deck?" I shouted. "I warned the HOA. You encroached. You refused to fix it. I acted." "You acted illegally," I shot back. "Take it up with the community," she snapped. "I have authority." "You don't even have authority over this property, Karen." Silence. Window slammed. Back in my yard, I crouched, running my fingers along the sawed wood. She thought I'd just roll over, rebuild, forget. But I whispered, more to myself than anyone else, "You picked the wrong property, Karen. You just made the worst cut of your life." Let me back up a sec. When I built that patio, it wasn't just a weekend project. It was my declaration. Every board, every joint, every drop of varnish was mine. No shortcuts, no store-bought anything. I'd fought for this land. Variance hearings, city council nonsense, even an HOA exemption. The previous owner got my lot excised from the HOA because of the weird boundary lines, so I was officially not under Karen's jurisdiction. I kept all the paperwork, the emails, the city stamps. So, by sunrise, I had 30 high-res photos, a PDF ready to go, and an appointment with my lawyer, Jenna Kaufman. She didn't even say hello, just whistled when I showed her the evidence. She signed her name? Like a Banksy, I said, but way dumber. That's confession level, Ryan. Before noon, I had a surveyor, Jonathan Lee, out there, laser mapping everything. "Deck's well inside your line," he said. "She's the one crowding your lot, actually." That's when I realized she'd built a hydrangea bed on my side. Want a drone overlay? He asked. Absolutely. While he set up, I dug through my files and found the HOA exemption letter. Official, city-stamped, public record. Not only was I not under HOA authority, but the entire destruction of my deck was a trespass. That's when the neighborhood drama went nuclear. By afternoon, my inbox blew up. Karen had sent a mass email claiming the HOA finally removed an unsafe, unapproved structure, complete with a photo of my demolished patio. She made it sound like a heroic act. I forwarded it to Jenna. Do I scream now or later? She shot back, scream, but save it for court. Then the Facebook post started. Karen called my patio a hazard, an aesthetic violation, accused me of endangering property values. But some neighbors, God bless them, pushed back. He's not even in the HOA, one guy posted. His house was detached years ago, Susan replied. Karen argued. He's in our visual compliance zone. Susan just shot her down. You made that up, Karen. At least someone in the neighborhood had a brain. I stayed offline after that. My blood pressure couldn't take another Karen manifesto. Instead, I studied the wreckage. On the edge of a support beam, I noticed faint pencil marks, ruler lines, fine blade scratches. Not from a power saw, but something old school. Slow, precise, deliberate. I remembered an old backup drive labeled cam_backup, forgotten, dusty, in my garage. Plugged it in, fingers shaking a bit, not from fear, just possibility. I scrubbed through hours of nothing. Squirrels, thunderstorms, me pressure washing the deck last spring. But then, grainy, night vision, timestamped 2 nights before I got home. There she was, Karen. And with her, Trevor, her nephew, ex-contractor, the same guy who bragged at last year's HOA barbecue about doing silent demos for cheap. I watched, jaw tight, as Karen handed him a 2-handled Japanese pole saw. They argued. Trevor grunted, "This is your mess, Karen. I'm not going to jail." Karen whispered, "Just do it from here. Make it look like he overbuilt again." They worked slow, methodical. Trevor cut, Karen watched. At the end, she spray-painted her signature, admired it, then disappeared into the night. I copied the video twice, encrypted everything, and drove to the police. Detective Hill watched it, silent, 3 times. When it ended, he just shook his head. That's not just trespassing anymore. Nope, I said, ticking off the list in my head. Breaking and entering, destruction of property, conspiracy, with her name literally on the scene. He logged it all, promised to contact the DA. Jenna shifted gears, civil suit, $250,000 in damages, emotional distress, the works. You're about to own her patio, she said. She doesn't have a patio. Then you'll own the concept of patios, Ryan. I spent that night on what was left of my deck, hand on the cut beams, breathing in varnish and dirt. They thought darkness would protect them, but every builder knows. Every cut leaves a mark. Every coward leaves a trace. Next morning, code compliance showed up. Anonymous report, hazardous materials, improper chemical storage, possible groundwater contamination. The guy, Michael Feldman, calm and just doing his job, checked every corner. Compost bins, sealed stain lockers, everything labeled and legal. But then, he found a Ziploc bag taped under a bench, yellow label, powdery residue. Herbicide, he said. Illegal if it's not registered. My stomach dropped. That's not mine. He believed me, but protocol was protocol. This looks planted, he admitted quietly. They ran the bag. Next day, Detective Hill called. Prints matched Trevor Willow, Karen's nephew. Slam dunk, he said. Karen's being brought in. Now it's criminal territory. Hours later, police cruisers rolled up to Karen's house. She put on a show, yelling about civic duty and witch hunts. But the message was clear. Her days of running this place were numbered. The neighborhood blew up. Calls, rumors, HOA board meetings. Diane Carter, board member, showed up at my door, clipboard, nervous. Some of us didn't know about the video or the chemicals. Karen did this on her own. There were never any votes. Turns out, Karen was making things up as she went, even forging complaint logs, pretending to act on behalf of the HOA. Diane told me there'd be a vote to suspend her, and the next night at the clubhouse, it was standing room only. People were tense. Karen waltzed in, late, icy, still acting like queen of the cul-de-sac. Diane laid it out. Confirmed violations, unauthorized actions, time for a vote. Karen snapped, called it a witch hunt. Jeff from behind me shouted, "He's not even in the HOA." Susan backed him up. The vote was 11-2. Karen suspended. She stormed out, muttering about lawsuits, but nobody listened. Next day, a manila envelope landed on my porch, no return address. Inside, printed emails, forged HOA records, plans signed by KW. I handed it to Jenna. Her eyes got hard. Now the whole HOA is liable. They covered for her. They let this happen. Court was colder than TV makes it look. I sat at the plaintiff's table, Jenna beside me, Karen across the aisle looking like she was still running the show. The jury watched grainy footage of Karen and Trevor destroying my deck, listened to Detective Hill explain the herbicide setup, read Karen's emails planning the whole thing. Karen tried to play the martyr, claimed she was protecting the neighborhood. Jenna shredded her. No written complaints, no authority, just manufactured power. The jury didn't need long. Verdict: Karen Willow, guilty of property destruction, trespassing, conspiracy, falsifying records, attempted evidence tampering. The HOA found negligent. Karen got 9 months in jail, probation, $195,000 in damages. The HOA fined, forced to apologize, and reformed from top to bottom. I rebuilt my patio. Thicker beams, steel reinforcements, a small plaque on the new pergola. This is where your boundary ends, Karen. Forever. Neighbors came by. Some apologized, some just stood quiet, like they were watching a memorial rise from the ashes. Karen's house, empty now for sale. The HOA, different, better, no more threats, no more drama. Even talk of a block party, and for once, not mandatory. And me? Most nights, I sit out there as the sun goes down. Sometimes with a beer, sometimes just in silence. The wood catches the light, and for a moment, it feels like maybe, just maybe, all is forgiven. But me, I haven't forgotten a thing. So, tell me, where would you draw the line? What would you have done? Drop your thoughts below, share your stories. Let's hear about your own neighborhood battles. Because sometimes, justice isn't just about winning in court. It's about drawing your boundary and holding it, no matter what.